everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Alex and today I'm going to be bringing you some fall reading recommendations. Now where I live in Tennessee, it is finally starting to feel like fall. We were in the 90s all the way up until the very beginning of October, and then we got hit by 2 cold fronts, so now it finally feels like fall time and I am so excited for it. So today I just wanted to go through some of my favorite fall reads. I know me personally, in the fall time, I just like to be able to sit back, enjoy the cooler weather or maybe a thunderstorm outside and just enjoy a good book and let myself get pulled in by it. That is what all of these books have done for me. So before we get started, if you are new here and you're not already, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon down below so that you never miss out on any of my content. So without further ado, let's get started. Now the first books that I want to talk about are a beloved series here on BookTube, and that is the Diviners series by Libba Bray. The Diviners is set in the year 1926 and it follows our main character Evie, who has been sent to live with her uncle in New York City. Now Evie has a superpower where she can touch an item and she can learn the history of that item, like who it's belonged to and where it has been. She finds herself wanting to use her power to help her uncle solve a murder case. Now there are 3 books out in this series currently. The 4th book is set to release in February of 2020, and this is the perfect series for October. If I could only give you one recommendation, it would be this series. This series is incredibly diverse. There is just a ton of diversity across the board. The characters in here are all incredibly dynamic. They all have their own unique personalities and they work so well together. The plot just keeps getting better. The stakes keep getting higher and higher. And if you're looking for a really good audiobook, I 100% recommend this series. They're narrated by January Lavoie, and she does a phenomenal job at giving each of the characters their own distinct voice, and I loved listening to all 3 of these books last October. And even if you don't plan to read all 3 of the books that are out in this series during October, start with one, and then if you read one a month, then you'll be caught up for the 4th one to come out. So it's really good timing to get in on the series. The next book that I'm going to mention is Grave Mercy by Robin Lefevre. Now this is the first book in a trilogy, but I have not read any further than this one, so this is the only one that I'm recommending as of right now. Now this book follows our main character, 17-year-old Isme, and I believe that this is set in the 13th or 14th century. Now Isme escapes an arranged marriage and winds up going to this convent where she is trained to be a daughter of death. She ends up going on an assignment that places her into the High Court of Brittany, and she is now learning about all of the secrets and the political undermining that is going on in their courts. Now this book completely took me by surprise at simply how addictive it was. I found that once I got past the first third or so, I did not want to put this book down. The setting was done really well. The plot was super intriguing and kept moving forward with all kinds of twists and turns. The action was incredible. There are amazing action scenes in here. There's a teeny tiny hint of romance that is done so well. I'm really looking forward to continuing this series, and if you haven't started it yet, I think fall would be the perfect time to do that. Next, I want to talk about a historical fiction, and that is The War That Saved My Life by Kimberly Brubaker Bradley. Now, this is a middle grade historical fiction that follows our main character, 10-year-old Ava, who has lived with her mother and brother. Ava has been stuck in her apartment her whole life because her mother is ashamed of her clubfoot. Now, these characters live in World War II England, and the city is evacuating the children because they are scared of bombings, so Ava and her brother wind up living with another woman named Susan Smith. The story just follows the family as they are navigating wartime and trying to live. I don't want to give a whole lot of synopsis, but this is one of the most heartbreaking and heartwarming stories that I have ever read, especially for middle grade. Now this book just feels like fall to me, mainly because I did not want to put this book down. I devoured this book. It takes place all year long, so it's not specifically set in the fall, but there's just something about it and the heartwarming scenes and the addictive quality that I think make it a really good read for a fall weekend. Next, I want to talk about the Wayward Children series by Seanan McGuire. The Wayward Children series is a group of novellas that follows these children that go into these doors. It's kind of like portal fantasies. I would think of like Narnia, where they go into this world that is specifically created for them. They love it. It is their place, but somehow or another they wind up back in the real world and they don't know how to deal with that, and they keep looking for their own door back to where they belong. Now these children's parents just think that something is wrong with them. They don't believe that they've gone to this other world, so the parents wind up sending these kids to Eleanor West School for Wayward Children, and Eleanor is trying to help these kids find their doors again. Now so far in this series there are 4 books, so the first book and the 3rd book actually take place at the school and are in the storyline, whereas the second book and the fourth book are kind of offshoots of some of the characters, taking you back into their worlds before they came to the school. These books are novellas, so they're very, very short. I believe that they're all under 200 pages, so these are ones that you can really, really quickly fly through if you're just needing an escape. There's just a magical and mystical quality to these books that I think is really, really addicting, and it's captured the hearts of a lot of people. So if you've already read this, I wouldn't be surprised, but if you haven't, I think they're really nice for fall time. The next book I want to talk about is Little Fires Everywhere for Celeste Ng. If you are looking for a character-driven novel, this is the one on the list that I would recommend to you. Now, this story takes place in a town called Shaker Heights, and it is kind of uppity. Everybody has their own place. They know how they like it. Everything is very meticulously planned, and nothing goes awry. Well, the single mother and her daughter wind up moving to town and renting a home from this higher-up family, and you get to watch their dynamic unfold. In the midst of all this, there is also a custody battle that is happening in the town that is essentially separating everybody onto one side or the other, and you're also getting to see the effects of that. Now, you can definitely tell that Celeste Ng took her time crafting this novel. It was incredibly well done. The characters are all very, very dynamic, and there are a lot of characters, but they were not hard to keep up with who is who. The writing was done really, really well. Each individual storyline was done well, and they were all put together very nicely. So overall, I really have nothing bad to say about this novel. This was one that just, even though it was character driven, so I expected it to be slower, it really, really gripped me, and I wound up flying through it. Next, I want to talk about Bridge of Clay by Marcus Zusak. This novel is about the Dunbar brothers, a group of 5 brothers who, when they were younger, their father mysteriously disappeared. And throughout this novel, we mainly follow the brother named Clay. Now, I will say, if you hear the name Marcus Zusak and you're thinking that this might be anything like The Book Thief, it's not going to be. This is 100% different than The Book Thief, and I know that this book hasn't gotten the best reviews. A lot of people much prefer The Book Thief, and that's fine, but it is its own thing, so I would just level your expectations while going into this one. Again, this is a novel that just really pulled me in with the characters and the storylines. You get to learn a lot of the history behind the family, as well as what they're doing today, and I think that it was all just put together really well. Now, this one does move a little bit slower, and the writing, while it is very beautiful, might slow you down a little bit. So if you want to spread this one out and read it slowly over the fall season, that might not be a bad idea. And the last books that I'm going to talk about in this video are Scythe and Thunderhead by Neil Shusterman. Now, Scythe takes place in a world where we have conquered death. There is no more disease, there are no more car accidents, there is nothing that can kill a person. We are all basically immortal. So the issue now is population control. So this world has these people called scythes who basically decide who they need to kill to keep the population under control. So at the beginning of the first novel, we follow our 2 main characters, Citra and Rowan, who are becoming scythe apprentices. Now, I would be very, very surprised if you have not heard of these 2 novels. They have been all over BookTube for the last couple of years, and the 3rd and final novel, The Toll, is coming out in November, which is partially why I'm also putting these on this list, because if you can knock both of these out in October, then you can read The Toll in November. Now, this is my first foray into Neil Shusterman, and I love it. I want to read more from him so badly. This is one of my new favorite series of all time. Absolutely one of the most addictive books I have ever read. It will be no problem at all for you to knock out both of these in October because you won't want to put them down. There's a lot of really interesting commentary in here about what could possibly happen to our society if technology improves the way that it's going, and what these issues could be as far as population control. You get to learn from good sides and bad sides. You get to read some journal entries. There's also this robotic entity being called the Thunderhead that is essentially the government, but it doesn't interfere with the scythes because it doesn't want to play God, and you get to hear from it a little bit, and it's just so good. I cannot believe where we left off in the 2nd novel, and I am so ready for this trilogy to finish up. I'm so ready for it. If you have not picked this up, October is the perfect time to do it. So that is it for my fall reading recommendations. Hopefully you haven't read all the novels on this list already, and it'll give you something new to pick up over the next couple of months. If you have read any of these, let me know your thoughts on them in the comments down below, and give me a fall reading recommendation as well. If you like what you saw today, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up, as well as hitting the subscribe button and the bell icon down below so that you never miss out on any of my content. So until next time, bye!